Today, I'm bringing you the video that I wish that I had seen when I first started watching videos in the YouTube beauty space. It's the next installment in my Makeup Basic series, and it is all about the very basics of eyeshadow. Some terminology, color selection, and application. So let's get started by zooming in nice and close because we're going to talk about different parts of our eyes and some of the terminology that you'll hear if you're watching a YouTube video. Not everybody uses the same word to describe the same part of the eyes, but if you're watching my videos, this is what I mean. So the parts of the lid that are relevant when you're putting on eyeshadow is the lid, and that's the part from your eyelashes to the part where there's the crease. This part moves when you blink. Sometimes it's called the movable lid or the mobile lid. Then we have the crease, and that is the part that is right there where your eye bends. The next one is the transition area, and for me, that's the area that is right from the crease up to the brow bone or the orbital bone. If you feel around with your finger, you feel the hard bony part, and it goes all the way around your eye. And so the transition is from this crease to that brow bone. Then, of course, we have the brow, the eyebrow, and the part just under it, which is the brow bone. And a lot of people like to put a highlight there. Another term that might be confusing is the waterline. You actually have two. You have an upper waterline and a lower waterline, and that's the area that is above your lash and right there, or below the lash line on the upper lid. I typically refer to this area on the upper lash as the tight line, and then the bottom one as the waterline. And finally, we have what people refer to as the outer V. It's really not a V because it's laying on its side. And actually, for me, with hooded eyes, it's a little more helpful to think of this as a number 7 than an actual V. And this area can be defined if you continue that lower lash line going up and then going kind of straight out from the crease. I just mentioned hooded eyes. If you look on my eye, I have this extra kind of loose, saggy skin right here. And so what happens with hooded eyes is when you close your eyes, you may have a lot of lid space. But when you open them, that hood hides some of your lid space. And there are ways that you can maximize that lid space and recede that hood a little bit to help you see your eyeshadow look better. One thing to remember when you're doing makeup is dark colors tend to make things recede, and bright colors or shimmers tend to bring things forward. That's one reason I rarely put a shimmer on my brow bone for a highlight. I will sometimes do a matte color there, but a shimmer is going to bring that even more forward. So with my hooded eyes, it's going to make them look even more hooded because this part right here will be brought forward more. Then the other thing that I talk about a lot are my crepey eyes, and the crepiness is when the skin just gets more loose. And this comes into play when you're trying to do these windshield wipers, because if you have nice taut skin, like on the back of my hand, when I make a fist, if I were to do this, the skin doesn't move and the brush is able to blend very easily over that taut skin. But when the skin is loose, and I do this, then I'm just moving the skin. The brush is not really going anywhere. And so I use different techniques on my crepey skin than someone who doesn't have that would want to use. So now that we have the terminology settled and we know what we're talking about, it will make it easier to do tutorials and watch my tutorials and know exactly where to put the eyeshadow. So for a very basic beginner look, we're going to just talk about 3 colors. You can use any palette or singles in your collection. This is not brand specific. In fact, my shades are not even in a palette. You are going to want a light color that is like or just a little bit lighter than your skin tone. Then you're going to want a deeper color. And finally, you're going to want a color that's somewhat in between those two. So if you use this concept of light, medium, and dark, you can choose any shades to do this with. And if I were to look at shades in a palette, let's say this Wet n Wild Not a Basic Peach palette, you can see there's a light shade, there are medium shades, and then there are darker shades. And so you could do this one and this one, perhaps. Or you could do this one here, and this one here, and this one here. Adding on to this, if you're like me and don't feel like an eye look is complete unless there's a shimmer in it, you can then look for a shimmer in your collection that is in the same color family as what you have. This one is going to be pull in more of this darker color here. Or if you want a lighter look, you can pull in this one, and then you would have a 4-color look. If you want to get really fancy, you could put all of them together. I don't want you to get overwhelmed with color selection in this video, so that's as far as I'm taking it right now. We're really just going to focus on that light, medium, and dark, and putting those on our eyes. I have my eyes primed. I am testing out a new eye primer right now, so stay tuned and I'll let you know if it's going to replace my e.l.f. Putty Eye Primer. Alright, so let's talk placement and realize that these are only suggestions. You can put your eyeshadow on your eyes however and wherever you want. But sometimes it's nice to just kind of have a place to start with, and when you get comfortable with that, you can branch out and experiment in doing it different ways. But remember, no matter what, it's just makeup and it washes off. So the first thing I want to do is use this light color to set my primer, and this is going to go from the crease of my eye all the way up to my eyebrow. And the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I don't have any creases in that eye primer, because since this is going to set it, if there are creases, it will set in the creases. So I'm just going to dab in, and then I just pat that. Remember the hooded crepey eyes that I talked about, that I don't want to move the skin around too badly. And again, that one was creased pretty good because there was some extra product right there. So this helps to remove that extra product, and then I'm going to set it down. And what this does is it helps the shadow that you put on next to blend more easily. I typically leave the lids tacky because I like to use a shimmer and it helps it stick better. If you're going to do an all matte look, you might want to set your whole lid. The next thing we're going to do is take a fluffy blending brush, and if you have smaller eyes, you want a smaller fluffy brush, and if you have larger eyes, then you can use a larger brush. Now I'm going to use that medium tone color that we had, and I'm going to use this from my transition shade. And typically what you want is darker colors lower, fading to lighter colors, or darker color to the outside, fading to lighter on the inside. Now that is not a hard and fast rule. You could do a halo eye that has dark color here and lighter in the center. Or you could do one color all on your lid. There are lots of things that you can do, but just to make this simple, we're going to think about darker colors fading to lighter, lighter to darker going this way, okay? And if you want to think about your eye in thirds, sometimes that's helpful for where to place shadow. And you can use the outside of your iris, the colored part of your eye. So starting here and going towards your nose, that would be the inner third. The part that is right above the iris, that would be the middle third. And then the part from here out to the outside, that 7 that we talked about before, that is the outer third, or the outer V, outer 7. You also want to think about keeping your eyeshadow above the continuation of your lash line here if you want your eyes to look lifted. Sometimes that downturned, sultry kind of look may be what you're going for, and in that case, disregard. But for the most part, most of us, I think, want our eyes to look a little more lifted, and so think about the lash line and then continuing that this way. If you have trouble with eyeshadow getting where you don't want it, you can do your eyeshadow first and then clean it up with a makeup wipe and then put your foundation and such on. Or you can take a little bit of cellophane tape, put it on your hand to make it a little less sticky so it's not so harsh, and then just use that to line up that straight edge and put your eyeshadow on that way. Okay? So let's do that on one side and not on the other, and we'll just see how it works. I'm going to now take this medium tone and that fluffy brush and tap in and then tap off a little bit of the extra. Now, because I have that crepey skin that moves around, I'm going to close my eye and go in with this brush, and I'm just going to tap to lay down the color. And this is going right in the crease with the color, and then when I get it where I want it, then I will start doing tiny little circles and blending it up. I don't want to actually bring it down from where I put it in. I'm just going to go up, and I'm going to go to that brow bone right there. And I'll just tap in and keep applying until I get the color that I want. If you have hooded eyes, every now and then open your eyes and look and see if you can see the color when your eyes are open. And if not, then you might need to bring that color up just a little higher. If you're holding your brush close in, you're going to have a firmer grasp and you're going to be pushing a little harder. If you come out here, it's a looser grasp and it's going to be a more diffuse blend. Also, if you are holding your brush down and blending, you're going to be depositing more color up this way. And I like doing this to get right up underneath that brow bone. If you're holding straight in, you're going to get a more direct blend. And if you're going this way, you're going to get your color more from the brush going down. Okay, so you want to be careful about that, especially in this outer edge, blending with your hand up here, because you're going to be more likely to get color down where you don't want it. So you can affect how you blend based on where you hold your brush and how directionally you hold your brush. And I like how that color looks right there, so we're going to leave that. I'll do the other side and I'll be right back. Now I'm going to take that dark color, and using the rule of thirds and the outer 7, I'm going to create a V shape out here, or a 7, with this darker color. And because I want to be kind of precise with where I place it, I'm going to use what we call a flat shader brush. And this brush is densely packed. The bristles kind of come to a point, and it's flat if you turn it. So I'm going to brush that into the color, and then I'm going to tap off a little of the excess onto my palette so that I don't end up with a lot of fallout. Now, the color is on this side of my brush. If I were to put it this way and put the color on, it's going to want to come too low. When I first go in, I like to flip that brush over and bring it this way and in from the bottom, and then I'll flip it over and go this way from the top. And I'm just working on developing that outer 7 or sideways V shape. And I can go into what I tapped off on my palette rather than going back into the pan for more color. And I'm thinking about where my iris ends here, and then on the crease I'm going about halfway. And I want to kind of bring this top here and not follow too much this way, but actually to bring it out in more of a straight line. And you can keep doing this to get as deep as you want or as light as you want. And so that's the look I'm going for right now. Again, I'm going to do the other side. I'll be right back. And now, using that rule of thirds, I'm going to go into that medium color, and I'm going to blend some of that right on the lid. And then I'm going to go into the lightest color, and I'm going to put that, using that fluffy brush, right on the inner third, and that will brighten up the inner part of my lid. Then I'm going to take a clean fluffy brush, and I'm going to just go over these edges to kind of blend everything together. So I'm going to take the tape off of this side, and you can see there was some color there on the tape, and that now I have this distinct line here. I'm going to go put my face makeup on, and I will be right back so that we can do the under eye part. All right, I am back, and I will have everything that I put on my face listed in the description box down below. And now we're going to put some of this color on the lower lash line to mimic what is happening above. Again, thinking about thirds. A little bit darker on the outer third, medium on the middle third, and then lighter on the inner third. I'm going to use this pencil brush, and I'm going to start with the medium color. Then I can go to the darker color with the same brush. And I'm just going to take and swirl the tip in there a little bit. Tap off some extra because, again, we don't want that to fall down on our face. And then I'm just going to put this right under the iris on both sides. Then I can go into the darker color with the same brush and it's not going to matter. And again, just swirling the tip, tap off the extra, and this is going to go in the outer third and it's going to kind of connect up to the color on the outer V or outer 7. See that? And if you want to, you can almost give a winged liner effect with this color by not blending it and just leaving it slightly darker there. Or you can take a blending brush and just feather that up into the color like that. And then finally, I'm going to take this brush that I dedicate to my inner corner color. So it's always used for a very light color. And I'm going to take that matte ivory again, swirl that in there, and I'm just going to put that in this inner corner and on the lower lash line on the inner third, so corner to the start of the color of the iris. I have a lot of darkness in this inner corner that goes up into here, so when I do my concealer, I bring that up into here, and I also like to use a lighter color to help camouflage that a little bit. I am going to finish this eye look by doing a tutorial on tight lining and false eyelashes. So if you'd like to see those, then make sure that you're subscribed and your notifications are turned on so that you'll see them when I upload them. I hope that you have a beautiful, blessed day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.